All right. Well, it's been a minute. I'd say it's time to actually get started. So, hey everybody, my name is Adam Zaki, Director of Product here at Cyrison, and today we'll be talking about building dashboards that work today, tomorrow, more importantly, later into the future, as you or your peers or your manager or your management or really anyone maybe those requirements change over time and you want to make sure that your visuals adapt accordingly and that there's less effort that you actually have to put in order to build said dashboards. And today, I'm also joined by my colleague, Jeff Ross. I'll let him introduce himself.
Yay, hi everyone. I'm Jeff, part of the customer success team here at Horizon, and yeah, excited to be presenting today with Adam. And the reason I'm already smiling to myself is because, as Adam was just introducing there, I was remembering our little teaser video we did for social media for this event. And I don't often say this, but like it's really good. It's one of our best work ever. Um, so although you're on the event, you don't need to go see watch the social teaser. I recommend that afterwards, not obviously during, afterwards, go and check that out. Look up Saracen on LinkedIn, and yeah, I'm sure you'll enjoy that. It's a bit of fun.
You'll find it. Now, with all that said, like I said, today we're here to talk about dashboards, working inside of Power BI, and how to build these visuals that work for you, everyone, now, tomorrow, and into the future. Um, but the other thing I want to make sure that we actually focus on, it's important to know, is what we actually have planned for just the agenda of what goes on today. And the good news is, well, we're already done with some of it because we have a very short agenda before we actually just jump right into this. We already did intros, which is good. There's our faces. You've seen them. You know them. But the thing that I want to jump into very quickly is state of the roadmap, what's going on with Tikit, when you can expect features, what's going on, what we have planned for the rest of the year. Because I know what month it is. It's still 2025, and we still got some plans for things that we want to take care of. So, in terms of the roadmap, we are currently pending Microsoft I've already validation approval
Yeah,
before we can release group chat. Group chat is going to be this multi-phased feature that we're going to be introducing, and right now we are just waiting for this final Microsoft validation before it goes out. It is ready. We're just waiting for Microsoft to push the button. Now, that said, the reason I actually wanted to wrap that one up quickly, as excited as we are about it, because again, it's going to be really interesting. You're going to be able to have group chats with all of your requesters, affected users, collaborators, assignees directly inside of Teams, and it's going to be forever linked to a ticket. You're always going to be able to have a group chat about that ticket directly inside of Teams. And as exciting as that feature is, and it really is, we're super excited for it. The other one that we know people have been waiting quite some time for, and we're also very excited to get to, and it also is in QA, is multi-turn cards. We're looking at near the end of next month-ish or so of releasing multi-turn cards. And this is what is going to unlock the ability to have one card be served after another when you're looking to create a ticket. But the best part of it it
dependent on the first card.
is that it is all going to support conditional logic. So you can imagine if you had a onboarding template with an onboarding series of forms associated with it. You could have the very first form ask for the first name, last name, job title, department, and if they need hardware. And depending on whether or not that box is checked for if they need hardware, either the ticket is submitted immediately or a second card is served to the requester to provide what kind of hardware they need. This is going to unlock all sorts of really interesting scenarios. It is going to support all of the things that you see in adaptive cards today in production. And it's going to behave just like life cycles, which means that how you transition between phases of work is also how you're going to be able to transition between different forms in a template. But we'll get to that, more on that later. And in fact, if you are aware of this event that happens, that maybe you're aware of happens every month, at the end of every month, the last Thursday of every month, is an event that I run known as Technically Speaking, where we invite all of our customers to that call, talk about whatever is on your mind. Uh, Obviously, I'm always interested in feedback, which is a great place for that. But it's also a place where we get to show off some of the things that we're working on, things that are about to get released, and demo some of those early features. And perhaps multi-turn cars is on the next one in the next couple of weeks. If you're not familiar with Technically Speaking, though, feel free to just throw a question into the chat. Jeff and I can get you invites to that. That's certainly possible. And
Sorry, just for everybody, not the chat.
oh,
There's a
you're right.
separate thing for Q&A.
You're right.
It's
The Q&A.
different to chat. You can chuck a
Apologies.
question in that and we will answer it.
And then after multi-turn cards, we want to make sure that we get to custom properties. So you can have custom properties on the core elements of a ticket. You can introduce your own custom text fields, numbers, true, false values, what have you. And not only can you have those on the core tickets themselves to where you could set them in the agent portal, not only could you set that in adaptive cards on your custom forms when you're gathering input from users and have them fill out your own custom fields, but you'll also be able to report on those very same custom fields, which is kind of relevant to what we're going to be going over today. And then last but not least is also we want to make sure that we get out our updates to Power Automate, as well as our larger features around permissioning and RBAC within Tikit, where that will define who could be deflected what forms, who can see what views inside of the agent portal, and also how the help card is served based on who the person is that's actually talking to Tikit Virtual Agent. So still a lot on the roadmap. Like I said, if you head over to Technically Speaking at the end of this month, maybe I'm going to be showing off multi-turn cards. And I guess with all that said, let's just jump into what we want to go over today. Let's go over how we can actually build these dashboards. Now, I want to preface all of this. I'm going to go share my screen here. I will preface all of this by saying that I have downloaded and I'm using the Power BI template that we offer. Just paste in an API key and you can load this dashboard up yourself. We recommend this as a starting point because not just because a lot of the graphs are already there for you and that it's fully interactive, but more importantly, all of the data is already there ready for you to work with, massage, import additional data, build your own visuals with. It's already set and ready to go. And in fact, I just realized I'm not sharing my Power BI screen. Now I am. Apologies. The other thing that's also going to be happening throughout this webinar is that I have a loose idea. I really mean this. I have a loose idea, I think, what of Jeff is going to ask, but I also don't know for sure. So the other thing I also want to point out is that if you have questions about anything I'm going over, go ahead and throw them into the Q&A. We might answer them throughout this. We might save them to the end. We might have to follow up with you afterwards. But we're going to see where this goes. And I should also add, since I don't entirely know what Jeff is going to ask me, I'm probably going to make a couple of mistakes. But that's okay, because there's no penalty for being wrong here. We'll all work through this together.
All part of the process, exactly.
So,
just on the question box, I've just added a couple of questions myself for the various links we've covered up, the sign up for Technically Speaking, and the link to download this Power BI template. So
awesome.
they should be there in the question panel. If you, as Adam said, if you've got a question as we go through this, please throw it in there as you go. If it's kind of relevant to what we're talking about, I'm going to interrupt Adam, which I love doing, and ask it and make sure it gets answered. If it's not specifically relevant to exactly what we're covering, then we will either address it at the end, or maybe it's more of a kind of one-on-one side chat thing, in which case we'll reach out. But we will answer every question. So please just throw them out there and we will get to them some way, shape, or form.
And the very last thing that I want to touch on is that if this is the first time you're seeing this Power BI template, if you're not familiar with the visuals that are on it or how this data got here or how you could modify some of this data, I actually did a webinar several months ago that actually went over all of this in great detail. So if you want to add your own custom data, if you want to massage the data that's currently there, there's a whole webinar on it that has that we've done, and hopefully, I think Jeff, you should be able to maybe post into the Q&A.
I'm on it.
So I'll let you finish, and then I will prepare to turn this over to you.
All right. Well, I'm seeing a lot of awesome data here, a lot of colorful wheels and visuals.
I'm glad you agree. Good.
But let's
Yep.
start something simple. I just want to see how many tickets I've got that have been captured by one of my teams.
Okay. All right. Well, the good news is some of that is kind of here, and I'm gonna. I suppose your request is open to interpretation a little bit, but like on the default dashboard, we have active tickets by team. Here's my IT support, and again, if you've never seen Power BI before, if I click into one of these visuals, you'll notice that the rest of them update accordingly. But Jeff, you said you wanted to see all the tickets for a specific, what was it?
I want to see the number of tickets for my IT team.
Okay. Um,
Just want to know the number.
sure. So tell you what, let's start from scratch. I'm going to create a brand new page. And over in my data section, I'm going to expand tickets, plural, with an S. And I'm going to grab I'm going to grab the ID field of tickets. I'm going to drag that onto my canvas. All right, that's it's a lot of tickets. Oh, and for a specific support team, let's grab team. I'm just going to drag it out here. Okay, that's the same thing I had on the first page. Jeff, which team do you want to see?
The IT team, please.
Okay, so over in my filters here, as long as I have this visual selected in my filters, I can go to team. Let's do IT support. Okay, a little bit closer. It's 71. Um,
I
is there anything? Oh, go ahead.
I just want the number. Just give me a number. I don't have to read off a chart.
Okay. Well, when I actually drag something into the Power BI canvas, you'll notice that like maybe it goes between a table, maybe a clustered column chart. But if I were to choose KPI, that's exactly what I get.
Bingo.
So with my KPI widget, I can get just that exact count, just a very simple number. That's all it is. Now, I will admit, uh, if I was just looking at this, just glancing at this, I may not know what that 71 is. So, uh, is there anything else that you wanted on this?
Well, actually, that's all tickets on that team. But can
Yeah.
we filter down a bit? What if it's just the medium priority tickets?
Okay.
What if it's just the request ticket types? How
Okay.
granular can we get here?
Sure. So, again, within the tickets data set, we have all of this, we have all of these columns available, all the data to report on. First thing I remember you said was priority. So I'm going to click and drag priority into the filters on this visual. And I'm just going to let go and medium. Okay. And then what was the second one you said?
Just the request ticket types, not my incidents.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. So let's go ticket type and only requests. Perfect.
All right, cool.
Now, something I might want to do here, because again, it's just a number, and this is more of just kind of like some advice if you're this is a visual that you start traveling down because you're like, oh yeah, I just want to see the number. Is the title is ID by team. I might want to change that because if I was just, for example, if I had unclicked this, ID by team for, not
Hmm.
really clear what this could be.
Yeah.
When I click on it, though, I can see that I have filtered on this visual the priority, the team, and the ticket type. So what I might want to do is I'm going to go into Format Visual. I'm going to go to General and then Title. And I could call this uh, medium support requests for IT support or something else. I mean, maybe that's a little bit wordy, but at least it's certainly descriptive. I know exactly what that represents now. So that's helpful. It's a way for me to style that visual just a little bit. And again, this is where my filters exist as well. Again, unique to the visual. You'll also notice, if I expand my filters just a little bit, I have a filter that exists on all pages. I want to make sure that regardless of the page that I'm on, regardless of the visual I drop onto the page, is that my data always respects tickets created in the year 2025 or 2026, soon to be 2026. So that's another filter that's there. Okay, Jeff, what?
So yeah, 4 as a number is great, but actually, I think seeing that. So that's all of IT, but I've got lots of groups within my IT team.
Well, that's just IT support. Don't.
Yeah, just IT support
Yeah.
team, but I've got groups within
Yes.
that.
Right. Right.
So can we break that number and maybe want to take the filters out? Can we break that number up
You. Okay. You want to break the number up? Do you want
per
to see it
group
like? Do you want to see like all the individual group? You want to see the
in a
individual groups?
in a column chart? Each group, how many tickets? Yeah.
Okay. Uh. Well, let's tell you what. I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to recreate this from scratch. I'm going to do it
Hmm.
slightly differently, just so we can have something to compare.
Perfect.
Let's grab the ID again. Let's grab the group. And again, we only want to see this around IT support, so we do need the team component. Well, you know what? Actually, tell you what, let's drag team out onto our canvas. And if I click on IT support, right, my visual updates accordingly. So this is certainly useful. I can now I have a way to see the total volume of tickets, right, on that chart, but now specific to just maybe that specific team. Now you'll also notice that as I'm doing this, my KPI widget here over here actually changes accordingly. It goes from having a value to having no value. And the reason for that is that, don't forget, this visual has a filter specifically attached to it, and it's looking for IT support. So when I change it to marketing, it goes without saying, this will never have a value, but this will. You know what? I wouldn't mind.
Yeah, I don't want all the. I just want IT support
Yeah,
because it's quite noisy when you see it, all of them in there, just the colors to differentiate.
yeah. So while this is effective, right, when I drag the team out here and I can toggle between these, would be more effective is that if I gave Jeff and my peers maybe a slicer to work with inside of Power BI. So on this visual, which is currently a table, just one to the left is a slicer. And if I click on slicer, right, now I get checkboxes. It's still the same list, but now it's checkboxes. And when I click on IT support, now notice what happens on my bar chart below, right? Rather than seeing a slice, rather than seeing a portion of that data, I am localizing it entirely to only IT support. So with slicers, I can achieve a similar outcome, but I'm not dependent on a visual and the filters that could be applied just to it. So that means that as long as I have slicers on my page, you'll notice as I toggle between this visual and this
Mm.
visual, right? There's no filters now unique to those visuals, but certainly lets me control them, and it's a little bit more flexible. And it certainly means that someone maybe from really any walk of Power BI experience could easily manage this without actually having to get into the filters.
Yeah, I was thinking the filters maybe a little bit complex, but I probably can handle checking some boxes.
Okay. All right.
Does
Good.
that
Good.
work on like other properties? Because I'm thinking that now you say that, now you give me that functionality, I'm thinking to be able to select the date range, rather than, just this month or last month.
That's true. Tell you what, so on this one you had priority team and ticket type. Here's the team. Let's do the same thing again. Let's get ticket type over here, and we're gonna make this a slicer. And I want only the requests.
Hmm.
And I want we did priority too, so let's get priority out here again. I want to make this a slicer as well. I only want medium.
That
That's
should
definitely
total four. It does.
that's definitely the total four, but now done again just by a point of comparison in a very different way.
Mm.
Instead of the filters on the visual, I now have slicers on the page that can influence this. So now the next thing you said though is like you wouldn't mind a created date. It's a great point. So tell you what, let's do that. What happens with, because these are just like text fields. What happens when I bring a date value into my page here? So by default, Power BI, when you bring a date onto the page, will render it in what's known as a date hierarchy. And over here in visualizations underneath create a date, because that's what I brought out onto my canvas, if I click this little arrow, right, you'll notice that by default it says it's a date hierarchy. And a date hierarchy, as you could clearly see, is nothing more than like here's the quarter, the year, the month, the day, the week, et cetera, et cetera. You get super
Hmm.
granular in terms of
Yeah.
like what that is.
Well, I was wondering, like, just because the list of all the individual created dates wouldn't be that helpful in terms of filtering.
You're right, but it's the first thing we're actually going to go do. So I'm going to change this from a date hierarchy to created date. Those are all the created dates of my tickets. And yes, again, this still technically works. There's nothing wrong with this approach. If I click on it, I can see that, but I want something a little bit more interactive. So when we make a date a slicer, I get this visual now.
Oh, yeah.
And so now, as I start, let's start, come on. I know it's in here somewhere, right? Now I can actually control like the date range of this. Now, something else also worth calling out. If I go back to table, you'll notice that our created date, the created date of a ticket includes a date time. But when I flip to the slicer, it's only the date. That's a behavior of Power BI. But again, it's a way to make this super interactive without embedding filters directly into the visual. Again, as opposed to what we've done over here, far more flexible over here. At least I think it's more flexible.
Yeah, and easy to use than having to like handle like
Yeah,
greater than, less than. You can just slide those things around. I like
sure,
that.
100%.
My
And I
my
guess,
brain can't handle greater than, less than when it comes to dates because it's always like backwards. So
yeah.
this makes it really easy to get it right.
Now, on the topic of slicers, as opposed to just the table that I brought out of the created date, which was again this. If I move to a slicer, I can also do some really interesting things with just the slicer widget. And an example of something I can do, and let me just jump into it, is this. Is, for example, I have a due date calendar. This is using a combination of different visuals and widgets inside of Power BI, but I do have a month slicer at the top of my page. And if I go through it, you'll see that it updates accordingly. And also, I do get to keep the other slicers that I have, like change incident and who the assignee is. And the only reason I wanted to show this is because I want to show that while this maybe is perhaps some of the default behavior of a slicer, you can style this up quite a bit. You can change the colors, you can do all sorts of things to make a slicer far more impactful and also more interactive. Now, there was some setup to this, so perhaps I'm glossing over that a little bit. But if you're interested in hearing about how this came to be, or you'd like to get it yourself, have questions about it, please reach out to us. We would gladly talk to you about how this slicer exists and also maybe other things you could do with other slicers. Um, okay, so what's next? Because that
Uh,
was the slicers. There's the month
yeah,
slicer.
so we've been focusing on like just the count of how many things there are and obviously different ways to slice that. That's been really helpful. I want to dig a little bit deeper because I
Okay.
not just how many tickets I've had. I want to know where these are coming from. where, who's logging them, where the most most tickets are coming from,
Yeah.
and particularly like where physically are they coming from?
Okay. Um, well, I want to keep this. So tell you what, I'll create a brand new page. We'll start from scratch here again. You want to know where they're physically coming from. Okay, so let's do again. I'm gonna grab ticket ID. It's always a unique value because every ticket ID is unique. Um, I don't want a column chart. I don't want a table. It'd be great if I could actually just use the map widget. Now, if we have time, maybe I can get to this later, but I want to emphasize this: we're using the map widget here, not the filled map widget. Um, so with a map widget, I could maybe plot out the volume of tickets and where they're actually physically coming from. Um, so I have the ID. Do you state, city? Would that work?
Yeah, that sounds
Okay.
that sounds all right. Let's pretend I'm American.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Yeah. I mean, I'll do that. Location. So again, along inside of our tickets data, the requester has several properties that we make available, and one of them is the requester state. So kind of already off to a decent start. I do want the requester's city, so I'm going to make that a second value underneath location. We'll get to why I'm doing that in a second. I do want the legend to be the state. All right, so now I could do some filtering. All right, that's helpful. But the thing that's actually slightly more impactful, and if anything, probably the most impactful, is that the bubble size, how large the bubble is on the map, is influenced by the count of the tickets from that area. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn on drill down because I have the state and the city. And when I click into, actually before I click, okay, so Washington has 46, Oklahoma has 58. Okay, 58. Yeah, okay. Let's click on Oklahoma. And oh, they're all from Tulsa. All right, so that's how that works. So again, by having a combination of the state and my location, then the city, and I have turned drill down on, I can perform this like well, drill down inside of Power BI, regardless of where I click on those bubbles.
And
Good.
Adam, how does Ticket know the requester's state and city? Because
You're
we're not
right.
asking that as part of our ticket logging process, are we?
You're right, we're not. So the requester's properties, such as their office, their city, their state, all come from Intra. So because Ticket integrates with Intra so tightly, all of those Intra properties actually come over into Ticket, and you can report on them thusly. So if you don't have the city or state defined or other properties defined, such as like the employee's office in Intra, go ahead and add those. That'll get updated. Your reports will update accordingly.
Awesome. So I love this idea with the different size bubble, kind of
Yep.
very visually indicating kind of where the tickets are coming from. And that's
Yep.
giving me an idea about um not so much geographically, but who actually are my noisiest end users? Which users are logging the tickets? And I would like to again a visual way of like who's the biggest.
Okay. Well, in that case, tell you what, I'm going to leave the map there because, again, all the visuals should stay in sync. You want all of the noise, okay, all of the loudest, I mean, I won't say noisiest, the loudest requesters in your
Hmm.
organization.
Yeah.
Uh, let's grab the ID again. We are going to grab the requester, uh, and then there they are. So
All right.
now here's all of my tickets by who has logged the most. Now, something you might want to do, particularly on this visual, maybe you want to filter this by like only active or closed, or I suppose in this case it would be okay, right? You
Everything.
just
Yeah.
want to know who's the yeah okay that still works.
So
Anything
this
else you'd
is
like to do with
every
this?
this is every requester who's logged a ticket. I would imagine in a
Yes,
large organization, this is going to get pretty
that's
wide and hard to read.
true. True. So let's top 7. Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Who are my 7
Because
loudest,
because it would be
noisiest?
great is that if this visual adapts accordingly based on that ticket volume, and it's always showing me just the top 7.
Hmm.
So how do I set the top 7? Well, with this visual selected, I'm going to add a filter just on this visual. And you'll notice that I have basic filtering, right? But if I click on basic filtering, I have top N. And when I click on that, I can say the top 7 by which field. It wants a value to sort this on. Well, it's the ticket ID. So let me just grab ticket ID again and apply. There it is. There's my top 7 loudest requesters in the organization.
Mhm.
And of course, when I click on them, the map updates accordingly. And
Mm.
vice versa, right? I could see like if I click on a city, a state or a city, I could see all the employees in that area.
Nice. Yeah.
Okay,
No, that's good because we can make some fun jokes about end users, but
which we
I think
won't.
the genuine use there about like who needs a bit more training or who's maybe
Yeah,
got underlying technical issues, that'd be really useful to try and be a bit more proactive with
yeah,
our IT support.
yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
Um,
And
okay, of
you,
course.
well, I'm going, my imagination's
Sure,
going here. So
sure.
I'm thinking that like, speaking of like users needing training, and that
Yep,
could be an underlying issue. I think a very common scenario when users are going to probably have a lot of problems and need a lot of help is when they're going to be new to the organization.
yep.
So can I
Okay.
get like this, but like only users who have joined in the last few weeks? Who are the new starters
Yes.
who are struggling? They maybe missed
Yeah.
the onboarding. Maybe we didn't do the onboarding very well, and we could nip it in the bud, get them some training now, and then make their life a lot easier and make them more productive as an employee.
Yep. That's a great idea. But to do that, I need to call out to like an HR system, or I need to get an export of like a CSV from HR, because like I need to know their start date. I need to know like what the actual start date was, not the date the account was created, because that could have been after they were officially hired. And fortunately, I've done some of that. I actually have a import from my HR system, and I got a CSV export from HR. This could be from any number of locations, but CSV works. And my CSV looks a little something like this. It's a list of email addresses and the employee's start date. But I need to get that into the visual. I need to get that into this data set. So what I'm going to do is I am going to let's go merge some queries. And again, if you're not familiar with merge queries, the other webinar around Power BI do's and don'ts does cover how a lot of this comes to be. But basically, I want to join. I want to make a match on everywhere the requester's email is in the other file. So I'm looking for. I'm going to find it. There's a lot of them. That's the conversation ID, modified, created by. Oh, hey, request your email. Perfect. And I want to join this against the new hire start dates of that email. All right, perfect. Got some matches. I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to join those two different data sets up. And the next thing I'm going to do is I need to expand that data set, because I only really care about their start date. I should probably rename this too, so it's like easier for me to recognize what this is. So let's do requester start date. Okay, close and apply.
So
So
you effectively added like a column on the end of the data set of every
yeah,
ticket with the start date of the requester.
yes. And that data set came from something external to Power BI. It could be, an API call, it could be an Excel file, it could be a CSV, but I've brought that into my ticket template and I've joined those things together. All right, so now I gotta Wait for this to refresh. I know.
Just a reminder, this is live.
Yeah, just it's live. It's all good. This is your fault too. You requested this,
Yeah,
so
I did.
I have to, I have to do this.
Um,
Which is a great time to see. Is there any questions in queue?
yeah,
Are you
there was a
long for
question that's
this?
maybe I was going to wait till a minute, but it seems we're waiting for something to load. Just back to the map thing, I've got a question. If you have multi-site, multi-city employees, i.e. employees that move around, would you have to ask that information as part of ticket creation?
There's a very short answer and a very long answer. I feel like there's like the short answer is yeah, you probably want to know it. The longer answer is how will you maintain the process of updating the value in intra when they move locations or how often they do that? Like how will you ensure that data is accurate at all times? Um, and that's a rabbit hole of discussion. It's a good one. It's a great conversation to have, but like that, there's a lot to that. And Jeff, I don't know if you wanted to add
Yeah,
anything to that or agree.
I think it's all about this whole webinar is about what are you trying to measure? What is your metric? What are you trying to see? And ultimately, with any the whole point of reporting, whole point of any dashboard should be, it's not always, should be to then drive change, drive a business decision to change something to make things better. So
Yep.
what are we trying to do? In the scenario, which is obviously fictitious for a webinar with the locations, but I was thinking, when behind my thoughts behind that was I want to see which offices have the best or the worst kind of IT support or training program, or which, where's the most, maybe there's like bandwidth issues in one of my locations because they've got a bad connection. I would see that if I put a filter on around like slowness issues on my ticket data. So I'm looking for a particular issue, and that's really around geography. Um,
And
if
also, it's also worth adding that this could also highlight maybe some fields in intra that should be updated, right? Like maybe your
mm,
intra isn't fully up to date, or maybe it's
mhm,
missing some data.
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say that in that scenario, like the fact that somebody who's usually based in Texas, you know, was on a trip to California and logged a ticket that day, like I would just consider that to be a bit of noise and not worth worrying about, in that scope. So in that case, I could still drive it off their Entra actual kind of home location, and it still gives me enough of a picture over a kind of decent data set. We're playing with a small data set here in a lab, so it's going to be obviously more subject to that kind of noise.
Yeah,
But if you really want to know where they are when they log the ticket, because that's what you're trying to measure, then yes, you'd have to ask them that on ticket creation. So it depends what you're trying to measure, I think is my answer. But it's a
yep.
good question. Thank you for asking it.
I see a couple more, but this is finished loading, so we'll get back to those shortly. You said you wanted to see the tickets based on like new hire start dates, essentially, right? Like if there's a correlation there.
Yeah, like who's struggling in the early few weeks of onboarding?
Yeah. Okay. Well, the good news is that it's going to look something like this. We can see that we have like the top 7 kind of like loudest requesters. But since I did that join with my HR data into my ticket data, you'll notice that I have requester start date. And I can actually now bring this into a filter on this visual, or it could be a slicer, doesn't matter. Uh, and I want the relative date. So let me just do that one more time. So on this visual, I'm going to get the start date, drag it here. I'm going to change from basic filtering to relative date. I'm going to say in the last 21 days and include today, apply. There's the answer. It's Lee and Lynn. And I know that this is either Kansas or, well, actually, no, yeah, Kansas or Oklahoma. I believe that answers your question.
Yeah, awesome. So then I can deploy some extra training, tighten up my onboarding process,
Yep.
yell at the office manager in those departments to for not doing a good job, so whatever I want.
Yeah, you don't have to,
All
but you could.
right.
Um,
Amazing.
okay, so questions, because I saw a couple in here.
I think
There,
I've answered the majority of them, but I think the one I want to call out was another great one actually. We've done a lot of kind of visuals,
yeah.
graphs. We saw on the default dashboard when it loaded a lot of pie charts. We've got the map one, but what if I just want a set of data, a kind of old-fashioned report, all my tickets that I can see, based on particular set of circumstances. So the question was, does Power BI allow you to create a list or page data reports? I would like a daily report of all tickets assigned to a group.
Like a daily report of all tickets assigned to the group.
So let's
I
stick
was
with
like,
this. I mean, let's stick with
go
this
ahead.
example here with the new starters. Like, I want to see the tickets behind that blue block
Where?
in a table, in a more of a report.
So let's grab ID. Let's grab the requester. Let's grab the title, and that's needs to be a table. Perfect. Oh, and I don't want to summarize the tickets, so don't summarize. Okay, and you know what? I do need to see more information about this, so I'm going to grab the agent URL, and now I can just click to go view those tickets.
That's going to take me straight to Ticket Portal to look into
Yep,
that even more.
yep. And again, this also respects the visuals that I have above. So as I click at just Lee or just Lynn, I can see their respective tickets, and I also have a link to jump right into the agent portal to go view it.
Can I export that?
Can you export this?
Hmm.
I'm thinking about that question and also the other the question about like a daily report assigned to a group. So what else could I do here? What can I do? See the group that it's assigned to.
Hmm.
And again, this is I have a bit of a decision point. I can filter on that visual for just a specific group or several groups, or I could have a slicer on that group. So if I were to change this to, let's say, um, onboarding, and level 3, right there it is for just that group. Now, in terms of, I would like a daily report of all tickets assigned to a group. There's a couple options here. One, you could publish this into Power BI online or into a Teams channel, and then it's always there. It will always be there, and you can actually have it set to automatically refresh so that every time you look at it, you're always looking at the correct data. The second part of that is that actually there are Power Automate connectors around Power BI. So you could do things such as at 8 o'clock every Monday, go refresh my Power BI dashboard and send an email to these following agents or these following groups, and tell them like, go look at your dashboard. There's a couple ways to go about that, I suppose. And Jeff, I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to add to that.
No, I think that was really clear. So
Okay.
yeah, you can still get this sort of ticket by ticket approach, respects all the same filters as well. That's really cool.
Yep. Um, I did see a question um, around can you get data from template custom fields in Power BI? The short answer to that question is yes, you can. If you'd like to do it, I did cover it in the other webinar. I can also reach out to you to walk you through it. I recently rebuilt my environment for this, so I don't have a lot of custom form data to play with, but it's not difficult. Um, I will say the short of it, uh, let's see if I can actually do this or not. I'm skeptical. Uh, is what we are looking for is probably went over too far. Is the card answer JSON column. So this is the column that contains all of the responses to the form that someone has filled out on a ticket. And so something that you might want to do is, let's say, you want to duplicate the tickets query and maybe call it onboarding requests, or you want to call it new hardware requests. You could then filter down to just that template and then expand the card answer JSON so that it only is relevant to that template. And the reason I say that is that you probably don't want to just come into tickets and expand this or convert this, because you're no doubt will have a series of tickets with different templates, with different questions, with different answers. Like it's not going to mesh well all in a single data set. It would make sense to duplicate this and then work, in kind of those dedicated spaces. But certainly can follow up if you have other
Yeah,
questions around
we're
that.
happy to follow up about that.
Um,
I think that's all the questions.
multi-site, Power BI. Yep. Yep.
If anyone's got anything else, then well, first of all, please still throw it in the question box. You've got until kind of I finish speaking, and we'll start wrapping up. There's nothing else. But if you didn't want to use the question box or couldn't find it, or you most likely you'll think of it right after we end the webinar,
Is it
then
possible?
yes, then we still want to hear from you. It's not your only opportunity to ask a question. So you can reach out, team@sargent.com, or if you know Adam's email addresses, you're very welcome to email us directly.
Or hit us up
And
on
we'll be,
Teams. We're here.
yeah, whatever works for you, and we will happily discuss these things.
So I think that about wraps it up. Again, if you have questions, let us know. Hopefully this was informative, educational, helpful to you. If there's something you'd like to see next time, whether it be on Technically Speaking or another webinar, let us know. We're here for you. But until then, see everybody later.
Thanks, everyone. See you next time.